everyone. I'm Kimberly Guilfoyle, along with Juan Williams, Eric Poling, Dana Perino, and Greg Gutfeld. It's 5 o'clock in New York City, and this is The Five. Tonight, a fair and balanced examination of the mainstream media's bias with 3 glaring new examples. First up, Donald Trump is firing back at the Washington Post after learning the paper's devoted an army of 20 staffers to dig up dirt on every nook and cranny of his life. The presumptive GOP nominee thinks the owner has it out for him.
This is owned as a toy by Jeff Bezos, who controls Amazon. Amazon is getting away with murder tax-wise. He's using the Washington Post for power so that the politicians in Washington don't tax Amazon like they should be taxed. He's worried about me, and I think he said that to somebody. It was in some article where he thinks I would go after him for antitrust because he's got a huge antitrust problem because he's controlling so much. And what they've done is he bought this paper for practically nothing. And he's using that as a tool for political power against me and against other people.
After the Post saw our segment on this story yesterday, they reached out to us and said they have the same amount of staffing resources devoted to follow Hillary Clinton. Now, you remember when this happened yesterday, Eric? We had done a story about it. We had been, our producer, Sean O'Rourke, for my segment, was emailing them, contacting them, trying to get an answer. They were evasive. They were talking about other things. Then we had the show. We had the discussion saying we still have yet to hear back from them as to whether or not they have the same amount of staffers devoted to cover Hillary Clinton. They responded back during the show and said, yes, we do. Yeah,
they finally came through and said, yeah, yes, we do. But then today what happens is they find they just so happen to find a 1995 audio tape of what is allegedly Donald Trump saying what a great person Donald Trump is as a third person. I wonder if they're going to dig up that stuff for Hillary Clinton. I wonder if we're going to suddenly find some conversations that Hillary and Bill may have had from 1995 or 94, 93 and through there, because those might be pretty interesting. I'd like to hear
what you think that's comparable. The guy is pretending not to be himself so he can brag about his sexual conquest.
I would think that if there was a conversation that was
You've done that one.
Bill, that's right. I pretend to be Eric so I can say, hey, ladies, this is Eric Bowling.
But don't you think it'd be interesting to hear a conversation that Bill was having with Hillary?
Well, but
about where he was last night?
You think most people pretend to be someone else and they call you and say, hey, this is
Nor
Greg.
do I think most people...
Eric, this is Greg, but it's actually Juan.
Nor do I think most people have many interns and many mistresses in the White House.
But it's just weird. You would agree it's weird behavior, right?
You're just ignoring the other half.
Yeah,
I know, you can have anybody you want, but that's pretty weird behavior.
I think Donald was just being thrifty.
Oh.
He was doing his own PR. You know how they in sales they use testimonials?
Yeah.
He did his own testimonials.
Under a false name.
But you know what? We all love testimonials, and they're always false. He just happened to cut out the middleman. I just want to talk.
He's going to save us so much money as a country. I cannot wait.
Save us so much
God.
money.
Yeah.
He goes after the Washington Post in that thing as he says Bezos is using the paper as a political tool. Kind of like the National Enquirer, let's face it, which was used as a political tool to trash Trump's competitors. When you remember the Cruz mistress story, the Cruz JFK story, the Jeb Bush cocaine story, they were doing a lot of PR work.
Own the Enquirer?
Does he?
No.
Does he own David Pecker?
Own him.
Friendship. I don't know.
Juan has friends at the Washington Post.
That's true.
Yeah,
that's true. I blame Juan.
But also, you know what? Now that you say that, remember Breitbart had all these stories that were favorable. I mean, people were getting suspicious.
Yeah.
I know what you were going to do.
I know. I was going to pretend to be
And you just edited yourself.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
For once, I held back.
Perfect. All right, so let's go to someone sensible and mature.
You're going to have to go outside the studio.
That happens at 6. Okay. Dana, what do you got for us?
Okay, I'll just let her rip. Okay.
Yeah.
So if you remember Sarah Palin, when she was announced as the vice presidential choice of John McCain in late August of 2008. All of a sudden, Wasilla, Alaska quadrupled its population overnight, and it was all reporters, and they descended upon Wasilla, and they were paying people. Actually, they wanted to crowdsource. Remember this? They wanted to crowdsource her emails and everything so that they could try to figure out a way to, I think that was actually even the Washington Post. This is before Bezos. Okay, so that was about Palin. Then you had Mitt Romney. Remember when they went into his background to went all the way back to high school to find out if he had ever bullied a student who was gay? Right, and then and the media ran with that. that for several days. Now, think about this. If you're Cruz or any of the other candidates, you think, the Washington Post, Trump's mad at them, okay, fine. But if you were the other Republican candidates, you think, why did you hold that until after he was already the nominee? Why did you hold the story based from 1995? Because did you want Donald Trump to be the nominee so that then you could throw this stuff out there? I mean, I think I'm not saying that they sat on the story, but I wouldn't be surprised. I also think that this story that from 1995, which is not when Donald Trump was in college, he was 44 years old, father of 3, making these decisions to call back reporters as himself. He says it wasn't him. You listen to the tape and you decide. And there's conflicting information about that. That is the kind of thing that, one, he knows is in his background, so his team should have been prepared for it. Or 2, he needed to come out ahead of time and let people know that it was coming.
Do you think it hurts him? I mean, even I just think
not with people like you that support him, or well, not with people who love him and support him. No, it's not going to hurt them.
Thank you for taking that.
Well, I mean, I'm just trying to.
She's saying people who love Trump, this is not going to faze them.
It wouldn't have mattered. This doesn't matter. Like this doesn't matter to them. But does it matter to people who might be on the fence about who they're going to vote for? Because look, there's no great love for Hillary Clinton either. So if you're on the fence deciding who to vote for, I don't know if this will necessarily be the story, but you can bet that there's a lot more to come. With Hillary, I don't know how much there is left to unearth. I mean, she ran for president in 2008. There's a lot that had already come out. But if you think that there's more I don't know.
Well, I'm just
your face indicates that there's more.
No, my face is that they put 20 reporters to dig deep into Donald Trump, and they went all the way back to 95 so far, and this is only a couple of weeks. He's been the nominee for or the
but that's why you have to do
days.
research on yourself, and what you do is you hire the best people in the business, you get them, and you research and find everything out about yourself, and hopefully.
I've been doing that on you for years.
Oh my God, you must be so delighted.
And you just wait.
Yeah.
And also, can I just say that it is? I do think that there is a dangerous path when you threaten a private company like Amazon, which is not connected to Washington Post. Jeff Bezos is the CEO and founder of Amazon. He is also the owner of the Washington Post. I know you want to move on. Just give me 1 second. So on the antitrust thing, he's saying that there's an antitrust problem for Amazon, which I don't think is actually, there's no merit, I think, to that case. If there's an antitrust case to be made against Amazon, I would think the Justice Department would probably already be on top of that. I just think it's dangerous to target, for the government to threaten to target companies with legal action because of personal vendetta.
Didn't he say that Bezos says that he thinks Donald Trump is concerned about an antitrust issue, or Bezos is concerned about his own antitrust?
They have 0.4% of the retail market in the world. I don't think antitrust case is going to go forward, just having worked on the Microsoft case.
No, go back and talk about the recording.
Wait, I want to make it clear.
We talk about Facebook, so I don't get scolded from the control room. They're talking to me.
I'm not saying Amazon has an antitrust issue. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying the way I understood Trump's comment was Bezos was accusing Trump of saying there was an antitrust issue.
That's not what I read, but I could be wrong.
All right, so we're gonna figure that out.
I'm sure we will.
Indeed.